I'm giving you the system to create life-changing ideas. Here's why. I just walked away from a $1,000 a day business, not because it failed, but because I was bored and lonely. And now I'm starting again from scratch using the same system that works, but this time I'm doing it with you.
Josh Siege Lennox Label is basically Netflix for t-shirts.
Lennox Label was Australia's first and only premium plain t-shirt subscription. And it changed my life. It gave me money, freedom. I was even able to build my very first home. But the truth is, every morning felt like a grind. Choosing another t-shirt colour, exhausting. Packing up another shipment, unbearable. Even seeing orders come in, what used to light me up, felt like a weight on my chest. I started asking myself questions I never thought I'd ask. Running a business alone is isolating. It's like doing it on hard mode. There's no one there to motivate you, no one there to share ideas with and push you to go harder. It's easy to think that you should just do everything on your own, but look how that worked out for me. Tesla, Disney, Uber, 3 incredible businesses that all have one thing in common. They weren't built alone. And that's exactly why we're not going to start our business alone either. You've got me and I've got you. So let's get started. All right, we're going to need an amazing business idea. And no, they do not come from gurus on YouTube who tell you what to do. This is the 4-step framework for creating genius ideas. And it will help you to come up with your own ideas. Ideas that no one else has ever thought of. This is the same framework that I used to come up with my business Lennox Label. The best part? Anybody can use it. It is a super simple formula. Have you ever noticed that your most creative ideas come when you're bored out of your mind? When I was a kid, boredom felt like the enemy. I'd complain to my parents, "I'm bored," and they'd always reply, "Figure it out." But something funny happened when I let myself get bored just for long enough. One day, I grabbed a serviette, folded it, twisted it, and turned it into something amazing. That tiny idea was completely unique. Years later, that silly thing became my secret weapon for impressing girls. When you're bored, your brain isn't receiving enough external stimulation, which it naturally craves. This triggers a mental state where the brain seeks ways to entertain itself or solve problems. That is why it is so important that boredom is the first step of this framework. And all you have to do is find a quiet space, turn off your phone, grab a notebook, and just sit. No distractions. It's uncomfortable, but that's the point. Now this is the good part, where we turn your creativity into business ideas. But we need to put some guidelines in place. We don't want you just sitting there with your mind running wild. So the second step is about finding an idea you can be passionate about. Behind every great business is a founder that's passionate about the problem they solve. And that's exactly what we're going to do for you. Now, while every great business does solve a problem, and the more painful the problem, the better the business idea, it doesn't necessarily mean you can't have an incredible idea for a tiny problem. All it needs to do is cause enough pain that someone wants a solution. So let's find your problem. And we're going to do that by looking at our day-to-day. We're going to look at the things that just frustrate us the most. The stuff from when getting up to going to sleep, you can ask, could it be easier? Could it be better? Or could it be faster? If you have even one of those things in your day, then it could turn into an amazing business when you come up with the solution for it. To make this process a little easier, I've put this framework into a template and popped it into the description for you, because we're building this together, so we may as well use the same template. I'll even include some of my problems. Not that you can't guess one of them. But here's the thing about problems. Solving them is good, but solving them creatively, well, that's what separates a good business from a great one. And the beautiful thing about this framework is it doesn't just apply to coming up with new business ideas, but you can use this framework to solve problems within your business once it's up and running. In the early days of Lennox Label, shipping costs almost killed us. We were a subscription service, so we relied on sending things consistently, and the shipping rates, they were through the roof. And I used this very framework to try and come up with a solution. And of course I came up with all the obvious solutions, charging the customers more, negotiating with the couriers, or even changing my packaging so it was cheaper to send. But none of those ended up being the solution that I went with. When coming up with solutions, it's best to just go crazy. Think of what exists and think of what couldn't even be possible. For me, that couldn't be possible moment was when I discovered a single t-shirt fit the exact dimensions of a letter, that's when it hit me. Why am I shipping packages when I can be sending letters? When I switched to letterpost, I saved tens of thousands of dollars a year. And that is why the third step is about looking for solutions to each of your problems. But don't just limit yourself to the obvious and realistic. Think wildly. Sure, those are really important to put down, but this is your opportunity not to find the perfect solution now, but to open your mind up to different possibilities. Because at the end of the day, some of the best ideas are hidden away in the most unrealistic solutions. And once you've done that, we're going to turn those solutions into a genius business idea that no one's come up with before and is perfect for you. Because the fourth step, it's the most important. What happens when you take a good idea and make it unforgettable? Well, what about Uber?
Uber. I don't like waiting for a taxi. That's true. People don't like waiting for taxis. The real feat of genius was the map, because what the human brain hates in that situation isn't duration, it's uncertainty. The guy had the idea for the map watching Goldfinger, by the way. Bond has to follow Auric Goldfinger through the Swiss Alps. He attaches a tracker to Auric Goldfinger's car, and he can follow him at a distance and see on a scrolling map on the dashboard where Goldfinger's car is. And one of the founders of Uber said that's what should happen when a car arrives. With the map, the duration of the wait may be the same, but you go, oh look, he's stuck at those traffic lights, I'll have another pint. There's also an element of status with Uber, where you time your departure from the building to coincide exactly with the car drawing up. I mean, if you think about it, walking out of a building as a car draws up makes you feel like Louis XIV. Standing around in the rain going, I wonder if that's my car over there, low status behavior. You don't get many rappers doing that, generally.
So Uber didn't just build an app to book rides, they combined it with live tracking, transparent pricing, and peace of mind. Suddenly you weren't just waiting for a car, you were in control. This combination, the practical solution with the unexpected emotional payoff, didn't just make Uber successful, it made them a household name. So how do you do this with your ideas? Well, let me show you using a problem I face every single morning. My coffee is always too hot and I burn my tongue. I'm sure you saw that before. Now, it's a small problem, sure, but remember, what's a small problem for you might be huge for someone else. And here's how I'd use the framework to find a solution. First, identify the practical solution, a mug that lets me know when the coffee is at the perfect drinking temperature. That alone would solve the problem, right? But it's not enough to make the idea stand out. It's not unforgettable. Now, let's combine it with something unexpected. What if the mug was actually a smart mug? And it was smart enough to send a notification to my phone when my coffee was ready and at the perfect temperature. Suddenly I'm solving a bigger problem. Now I can pour my coffee, walk away, get things done, knowing my phone's going to let me know when it's perfect. This isn't just about avoiding burned tongues anymore, it's about saving time and making mornings more efficient. And that's how you take an idea from good to great. Now it's your turn. Look at the solutions you've brainstormed. For each one, ask yourself, what's the practical problem it solves? And then, what emotional or unexpected element can I combine with it? So write down as many combinations as you can think of, and don't worry if they seem wild or unrealistic. That's where the best ideas come from. Alright, so I just finished using the framework for myself, and I've got my business idea. In the next video, I'm going to show you exactly how to test whether your idea is actually good enough to turn into a business. Because at the end of the day, no business idea is any good if you can't turn it into a functioning business.